The stars burned cold and distant in the black emptiness of space. For over 10,000 years, the galactic hegemony ruled these stars without anyone saying no. 300 different alien species lived under their control. The Xeraxians, tall blue-skinned beings with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like yellow lamps, stood at the top. They made the rules. Everyone followed them. That all changed on a Tuesday morning. Commander Jack Nelson of the Earth Defense Fleet yawned as he sipped his coffee in the control room of Orbital Station Alpha. Earth in 2157 was still new to space travel. Humans had built small bases on Mars and a few moons around Jupiter, but they were babies compared to other species in the galaxy. They just didn't know it yet. "Sir, something weird on long-range scanners," said Officer Pete Wilson, his eyes fixed on his screen. "Big energy readings coming in fast." Jack put down his coffee cup. "How big?" "Bigger than anything we've ever seen. Way bigger." The main screen flickered to life, showing what looked like holes opening in space. Massive ships poured through, each one larger than the biggest cities on Earth. They were smooth and silver, shaped like arrowheads with glowing blue lines running along their hulls. "Count?" Jack asked, his mouth suddenly dry. 27 large vessels. Hundreds of smaller ones, Pete replied. "They're forming a ring around Earth." Jack pressed the red button on his command chair. Alarms sounded throughout every military base on Earth and beyond. "All stations, this is not a drill. First contact protocol is now active." "Sir, they're scanning us," said Lieutenant Susan Wright from the tactical station. Her fingers flew across her console. "Deep scans of everything. Our cities, power plants, military bases, even our internet." Jack opened the broadcast channel. "Unknown vessels, this is Commander Jack Nelson of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome peaceful contact. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." The main screen flickered again. A tall Xeraxian appeared, skin blue like deep ocean water. 4 arms crossed over a chest covered in what looked like living metal armor. Yellow eyes studied Jack with cold interest. "Primitive species," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Grand Admiral Sorthal of the Xeraxian hegemony, rulers of the Galactic Order. Your star system now belongs to us. Your people will serve us. This is not a request." Jack stood up straight. "Admiral Zorthal, we're happy to discuss peaceful relations, but Earth is not open to being ruled by anyone. Please stop scanning our planet immediately." Zorthal's upper arms made a dismissive gesture. "Your species has been evaluated as Category 4, barely advanced enough for basic space travel, suitable only for simple labor and resource collection. Resistance would be unwise. We're not giving up our freedom," Jack said firmly. "We request you leave our system now." The alien's yellow eyes narrowed. "Perhaps a demonstration will help you understand your situation better." On screen, one of the smaller alien ships moved. A bright green beam shot toward Earth, striking a small uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean. The island disappeared in a flash of light. "That was mercy," Zorthal said. "The island had no humans on it. The next target will be your city called Beijing. You have 10 minutes to announce your surrender." Susan looked up from her console, her face white with fear. "Commander, they're deploying smaller ships toward all our major cities. Thousands of them." Around the world, people pointed to the sky as strange silver ships descended through the clouds. Panic spread across every continent as the truth became clear. Aliens were real, and they weren't friendly. In the Lunar Defense Base, General Claire Adams watched the alien fleet with growing horror. "Get me Commander Nelson," she ordered. Jack's face appeared on her screen. "General, you seeing this?" "Every bit of it," Claire replied. "What's the play?" Jack took a deep breath. "They expect us to surrender or die. They think we're weak." "Are we implementing Protocol Thunderhead?" Claire asked. Jack nodded. "Send the signal. Wake up everything." Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in bunkers hidden even from most of the world's governments, sleeping giants began to stir. For 50 years, ever since humans had detected strange radio signals from deep space, they had been preparing for this day. building weapons in secret, developing technologies based on theories that the public wouldn't know about for decades. All across Earth, hidden missile silos opened. Experimental fighter craft powered up, and in orbit around Jupiter, the secret fleet that only a handful of people knew existed received its activation codes. "I'm sorry it had to be this way," Jack said as he watched the alien ships position themselves. "All Earth defense units, this is Commander Nelson. Protocol Thunderhead is now active. Authorization code, Humanity First." Susan looked at the readouts as thousands of signals lit up her screen. "They don't know what we've been hiding," she whispered. "No," Jack agreed as he watched Earth's secret defenses come online. "They have no idea what humans are capable of when our backs are against the wall." The first shots of what would later be called the Human War were fired that day. The Xeraxians, who had conquered hundreds of worlds without real resistance, had made a terrible mistake. They had threatened humans, and humans, unlike any species they had ever encountered, did not know how to surrender. The first week of war shocked the Xeraxians to their core. They had conquered over 300 worlds in their long history. Usually, alien races surrendered after the first show of power. The few who resisted never lasted more than 3 days. But humans fought differently. Colonel Alan Rogers crouched behind a broken wall in what used to be downtown Denver. The mile-high city now had a new skyline of broken buildings and smoke. 3 massive alien walkers, each standing 6 stories tall with legs like tree trunks and weapons that glowed green with deadly energy, moved slowly down the wide avenue. "All units hold position," Alan whispered into his radio. His fingers tightened around the strange-looking rifle in his hands. It wasn't standard military issue. It was something new, built from plans that had been kept hidden for decades. Beside him, Sergeant Lily Jones checked her tablet. "Everyone's in place, sir," Alan nodded. "Remember, these aliens think by math and rules. They expect us to either run away or attack from the front." The lead walker stopped in the middle of the street, its head a flat oval with glowing sensors turned slowly from side to side. According to the alien battle plans they had intercepted, this was just a cleanup operation. The Xeraxians believed most humans had already run away. They were wrong. "Wait for it," Alan said as the first walker passed the old bank building. "Now." At once, hundreds of hidden fighters emerged from sewers, buildings, and even fake piles of rubble. They fired not at the walkers' heavily armored bodies, but at specific points where the legs connected. Points that human scientists had identified as weaknesses. The lead walker stumbled as its right front leg suddenly failed. It crashed into a building, its weapons firing wildly into the sky. "Second phase," Alan shouted. From rooftops, soldiers fired cables with magnetic clamps. The cables wrapped around the walker's legs, crossing and tangling them. As the machines tried to move, they tripped over the cables and fell. "Ground teams, go." Specialized teams rushed the fallen walkers with the new weapons, devices that could disrupt the alien energy shields long enough for explosive charges to be placed. The Battle of Denver lasted just 17 minutes. When it ended, 3 Xeraxian walkers lay destroyed, and the human defenders had captured alien technology intact. Similar scenes played out across Earth. In Moscow, Paris, Lagos, and Beijing, humans fought with unexpected tactics that confused the alien invaders. On the other side of the planet, in a secret lab deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Laura Simmons hadn't slept in 3 days. Her long brown hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, and empty coffee cups littered her desk. She stared at screens showing the inner workings of alien technology. "Look at this pattern," she said to her team of 20 scientists. Their shield, technology pulses in a specific rhythm, like music. And just like music, there's a beat. She pointed to a graph that showed spikes and dips in energy. Every 6th pulse, right here, the shield is weaker for exactly 0.03 seconds. That's our window. Laura picked up a small device that looked like a TV remote. This sends out a counterpulse that forces their shields to reset. When that happens, we get almost half a second to hit them with conventional weapons. A young scientist named Ben looked worried. "But we'd need to time our attacks perfectly." Laura smiled. That's why we've programmed the targeting computers to do it for us. Every weapon we have is being modified right now. Within 3 days, human forces around the world had adapted to the alien technology. Within 2 weeks, they had captured a small Xeraxian ship intact. In orbit around Earth, Commander Jack Nelson floated through the strange corridors of the captured alien vessel. The ship hummed with energy that made his skin tingle. The air smelled like metal and something sweet like cinnamon. "Careful, sir," Susan said as she followed him. She had been promoted to his second-in-command. "The ship's systems are still activating randomly." Jack touched a glowing panel on the wall. To his surprise, it responded to him. "Their technology interfaces with thought patterns," he said. Just like the eggheads predicted, they made their way to the bridge, a circular room with seats designed for beings with 4 arms. The main view screen showed Earth below them, beautiful and blue. "Their tactical systems are based on mathematical certainty," Jack said as he studied the alien controls. "Look at these battle plans we found. They literally cannot imagine that we would sacrifice one position to gain another. Everything is about efficiency." Susan nodded as she examined the alien navigation system. "They've never fought anyone who uses tricks or deception. Their battle plans are like chess moves all planned out in advance, and that's why they're losing," Jack said. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know war isn't just about who has the bigger gun." The Xeraxians, shocked by their early defeats, called for reinforcements. Their high command couldn't understand how these primitive humans with their simple technology were winning battles. In Xeraxian space, a massive fleet of warships prepared to jump to Earth. The aliens were determined to crush the human resistance within days. What they didn't understand was that humans were only getting started. "They think they know what we're capable of," Susan said as she and Jack watched the alien communication channels report on the incoming reinforcements. Jack smiled grimly. "Let's show them how wrong they are. Prepare all units for Operation Hornet's Nest." The plan was simple but clever, something no Xeraxian would ever think of. When the reinforcement fleet arrived, they would find not a desperate last stand, but a trap that would change the course of the war. The Xeraxians were about to learn a painful lesson. Never corner a species that had spent its entire history finding ways to fight and win against all odds. Grand Admiral Zorthal stood before the Hegemony Council, his blue skin paler than usual. The council chamber was a massive room carved from a single crystal, with walls that changed color based on the mood of those inside. Right now they glowed a deep, angry red. 7 ancient Xeraxians sat on floating chairs looking down at Zorthal. Each counselor was over 500 years old, their skin wrinkled and their eyes dimmed to a soft yellow. They had ruled the hegemony for centuries, and none had ever heard the news Zorthal brought today. "The humans have pushed our forces back to the orbit of their 6th planet," Zorthal admitted. His 4 hands were clasped behind his back to hide their trembling. "They have adapted our technology and improved upon it in ways we did not expect." The head counselor, Zinvor, leaned forward. "Impossible. They are a Category 4 species. Their technology is primitive, their weapons are simple." "They were," Zorthal said quietly. "They are not anymore." He touched a control panel and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed human ships, strange vessels that looked like a mix of their own simple designs and Xeraxian technology. The ships moved in patterns that made no sense, attacking from angles that wasted fuel and energy, but somehow worked against the hegemony's defenses. "They do not fight like any species we have ever encountered," Zorthal explained. "They do not follow the rules of efficient warfare. They use tricks." The council murmured in confusion. The concept of tricks in warfare was foreign to them. War was mathematics, probability, and superior technology. It was not deception or surprise. Meanwhile, in the Saturn system, Captain Diane Miller stood on the bridge of the HSS Defiance. The ship was humanity's first true warship, built with a combination of human innovation and captured alien technology. It was smaller than Xeraxian vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. "Their reinforcements have arrived at Titan," reported her tactical officer, Paul Garcia. His fingers moved across the glowing control panel, which responded to both touch and thought. 6 capital ships, 20 support vessels. Diane studied the tactical display. The alien ships formed a perfect defensive pattern around their forward base on Saturn's largest moon. Their systems predict based on efficiency, she told Paul. So we'll be deliberately inefficient. She opened a channel to the other ships, in her battle group. All vessels, this is Captain Miller, execute attack pattern Chaos 7. The human ships, 15 in total, suddenly broke formation. Instead of moving in a coordinated attack as the Zeraxians expected, each ship followed its own random path. Some accelerated to maximum speed, burning fuel at a rate the aliens considered wasteful. Others cut engines completely, drifting on. Momentum alone. The Zeraxian defense computers could not predict these movements. Their targeting systems, designed to calculate the most logical evasion patterns, found themselves shooting at empty space as human ships zagged when math said they should zig. The Defiance took a direct hit to its port side. Alarms blared, but the ship kept moving. The humans had reinforced their hulls differently than the Zeraxians, focusing on survival rather than efficiency. Damage to decks 5 through 8, Paul reported, but we're still in the fight. Diane nodded. Begin Phase 2. The human ships fired special missiles, not at the alien vessels, but into the space between them. The missiles exploded into clouds of a metallic dust that the humans had discovered interfered with Zeraxian sensors. Blind and confused, the alien fleet broke formation, exactly as Diane had planned. All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel, she ordered. The battle for Titan lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the humans had captured the Zeraxian base intact, along with valuable research facilities and supply depots. Back on Earth, Dr. Laura Simmons made another breakthrough. She stood in a lab filled with Zeraxian technology, her team working around the clock to understand it. Their neural networks are connected to their ships, she explained to military leaders who watched via secure video link. It's why their coordination is so perfect. They think and their ships respond instantly. General Claire Adams frowned from her position at Lunar Command. Is that why they're so predictable? Laura nodded, excitement in her eyes. Exactly. Their minds work like their computers, logical, efficient, and completely uncreative, but it's also a weakness we can exploit. She held up what looked like a small silver cube. This device broadcasts a signal that disrupts their neural connection. It doesn't hurt them physically, but it breaks their mental link to their technology. How soon can we deploy it? Claire asked. We already have, Laura said with a small smile. I sent the specifications to our ship 6 hours ago, in the space between Jupiter and Saturn. Commander Jack Nelson's flagship, now renamed HSS Invictus, moved into position for humanity's most daring attack yet. The ship, once a Zeraxian cruiser, had been completely rebuilt inside with human innovations. The enemy dreadnought is moving to intercept, Susan reported from her station. Right where we want them. Jack watched the massive alien ship approach. It was the pride of the Hegemony fleet, a vessel so powerful it had destroyed entire civilizations that resisted. They still don't understand, he told Susan, as they watched the enemy ship follow the exact course their tactical officer, Kevin Daniels, had predicted. They think technology alone wins wars, Jack continued. They've never faced a species that thrives on being unpredictable. The human fleet had laid a trap. Disguised satellites had been positioned throughout the area, each carrying one of Laura's disruption devices. As the dreadnought passed between them, Jack gave the order, activate the disruptors. The effect was immediate. The mighty dreadnought's movements became erratic as its crew lost their neural connection to the ship's systems. Before they could recover, human vessels attacked from all sides. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, humanity had captured the most powerful warship in the Hegemony fleet. For the first time in their 10,000-year history, the Zeraxians sent a message of truce to a species they had tried to conquer. The message was simple. We wish to discuss terms. News traveled fast even across the vast emptiness of space. On 300 worlds throughout the Hegemony, Aliens of all shapes and sizes whispered about the impossible. A primitive species from a small blue planet had defeated the mighty Zyraxians. In the grand libraries of Meridius Prime, the central data world of the hegemony, analysts worked day and night to understand what had happened. Their reports to the leadership were disturbing. "The humans have improved our weapons technology by 32% in just 3 months, said one analyst, a thin, green-skinned being with 6 eyes. "They learn and adapt faster than any species we have ever encountered." "How is this possible?" asked the head librarian, an ancient Zyraxian whose skin had faded to pale blue with age. "They think differently," the analyst explained. "Where we seek perfection and efficiency, they embrace chaos and creativity." The word creativity was rarely used in the hegemony. Most species had developed along logical lines, following predictable patterns of evolution. Humans, it seemed, had evolved to be unpredictable. In a neutral space station orbiting a dead star on the edge of hegemony space, the first diplomatic meeting between humans and the wider galactic community took place. Frank Johnson and Maria Lopez, chosen as Earth's representatives, found themselves in a large circular room surrounded by aliens of all descriptions. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, with artificial gravity and air systems that adjusted automatically to the needs of each species. Floating translation devices hovered near everyone's heads, converting speech into various languages. "You intentionally build ships with multiple redundant systems?" asked a jellyfish-like diplomat from Aquarius Prime, its translucent body pulsing, with blue light as it spoke. "But that is so inefficient," Maria smiled. "We call it fail-safe design. Where we come from, planning for failure is just as important as planning for success." The Aquarian's tentacles rippled in confusion. The concept was foreign to most galactic species. Their technology was built to work perfectly. If something failed, it was replaced, not backed up. Frank explained human military tactics to a group of fascinated aliens. Sometimes the best path isn't the straightest one. Sometimes you need to retreat to win, or sacrifice a position to gain a better one. "But that defies mathematical optimization," objected a tall, thin alien with gray skin and large black eyes. "Exactly," Frank nodded. "And that's why it works. In war, doing the unexpected gives you an advantage." The concept of military strategy as humans practiced it was revolutionary in a galactic society that had relied on technological superiority for so long that the art of warfare had become simple math. While diplomats talked, other species saw opportunity. On the far edges of human space, a race called the Vex sent scout ships into the solar system. The Vex were scavengers who followed behind the hegemony's wars, picking up the pieces and preying on weakened civilizations. Their scout ships, sleek, black vessels that absorbed light rather than reflected it, slipped past Jupiter's orbit, expecting to find a war-torn Earth ripe for plundering. Instead, they encountered Captain Diane Miller's patrol fleet. "Unidentified vessels. This is Captain Miller of the Earth Defense Fleet," she broadcast. "Identify yourselves and state your intentions." The Vex ships ignored the warning. They accelerated, weapons powering up. Their databanks identified human vessels as primitive and vulnerable, another species that thinks we'll be easy prey. "Diane," told her crew with a small smile. "Let's educate them." The Vex ships were advanced with stealth systems and weapons nearly as powerful as Zyraxian technology. But they fought according to the same predictable patterns, efficient, mathematical, and completely unprepared for human creativity. The Defiance and its escort ships broke formation, each taking a seemingly random course. The Vex targeting. Systems designed to predict logical evasive maneuvers couldn't track them. "Deploy the ghost drones," Diane ordered, small unmanned craft launched from the human ships. They projected false sensor readings, making it appear that the human fleet was 3 times larger than it actually was. The Vex ships scattered, trying to target enemies that didn't exist. The encounter lasted 17 minutes. The surviving Vex vessels fled, jumping back to their own territory with a new warning. Humans were not to be underestimated. Word spread even faster after that. Across the galaxy, Species that had lived under Xeraxian rule for thousands of years began to whisper a single word: humans. Some saw the humans as potential liberators, others saw them as a new threat, but all agreed the galaxy had changed forever. In the Hegemony's central archives, historians added a new classification for Earth. No longer were humans listed as Category 4. A new designation was created just for them: Category 0. Approach with extreme caution. On Earth, human leaders debated their new role in galactic politics. In a secure conference room beneath the United Nations building in New York, representatives from all nations met to discuss the future. "We have opportunities here," said President Olivia Martin, a tall woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes. "The hegemony wants peace. Other species want alliances. We could take our place as equals in the galactic community. Or we could demand more," suggested another leader. "The Xeraxians are afraid of us now. We could push our advantage, take their technology, expand our territory." Jack Nelson, recently promoted to admiral, shook his head. "That would make us just like them. We didn't fight to become conquerors. We fought to remain free." As humans debated their future, other forces watched from the shadows. Beyond the borders of known space, ancient powers that even the hegemony feared had taken notice of the species that had accomplished the impossible. The Void Collective, beings of pure energy that had evolved beyond physical form, millions of years ago, sent unseen observers to study these humans. Their reports traveled back through the darkness between stars. "This species represents a deviation from predicted patterns," the observers noted. "They combine logical and emotional decision-making in ways we have not observed before. They are dangerous, unpredictable, and potentially interesting." In a hidden chamber deep beneath Mars, Laura Simmons studied artifacts found in the Xeraxian base on Titan. The objects were old, far older than the hegemony itself, covered in symbols that matched no known alien language. "There's more going on than we realized," she told her team as they examined the strange artifacts. "The Xeraxians aren't the oldest power in the galaxy. Something came before them, and they've been hiding evidence of it for thousands of years." As humans took their first steps onto the galactic stage, they had no idea that the Xeraxian War was just the beginning of a much larger story, one that had been unfolding for millions of years before humans first looked up at the stars and wondered what waited beyond the sky. 1 year after the first alien ships appeared over Earth, representatives from all hegemony species gathered at Unity Station, a massive ring-shaped space station built specifically for this historic moment. Humans and aliens stood together under artificial gravity, breathing air adjusted for each species' needs. Admiral Jack Nelson, wearing a crisp blue uniform with new gold stars on the shoulders, stood beside President Olivia Martin as she prepared to address the assembly. Through the icy station's large windows, Earth could be seen, a beautiful blue marble in the darkness. "Today marks a new chapter for all our peoples," President Martin said, her voice calm and strong. "Humanity does not seek conquest. We seek knowledge, friendship, and peace among the stars. But make no mistake, we will always defend our freedom with everything we have." The treaty they signed that day became known as the Soul Accords. For the first time in 10,000 years, the mighty hegemony had been forced to recognize another species as an equal. The agreement established new rules for first contact throughout the galaxy, ensuring no peaceful race would face what Earth had endured. In the months that followed, human innovation changed life across the galaxy. Dr. Laura Simmons's work in HFY quantum physics earned her the prestigious Galactic Science Medal, the first human to receive this honor. Her discoveries helped many worlds develop better power sources and medical technology. Human ships, now equipped with engines that could travel faster than light, ventured beyond the solar system. They carried traders, scientists, and explorers, eager to learn about the wider universe. Aliens who had never questioned the hegemony's rule began to visit Earth. They came to study human art, music, and culture, things that had been seen as unimportant in the efficiency-focused hegemony. On a distant Xeraxian world at their most prestigious military academy, a new course was being taught to young officer candidates. The instructor, an old veteran with battle scars across his blue skin, began with a simple statement. If you encounter humans and cannot make peace with them, you have only one good choice. The classroom fell silent as he continued. Run! Run as fast and as far as you can. The students looked confused. One raised a hand. But sir, our ships are faster and our weapons are stronger. The old Xeraxian smiled sadly. So we thought too. But humans don't fight with just technology. They fight with something we don't fully understand. They call it creativity and determination. These are more dangerous than any weapon. In the farthest corners of the galaxy, other ancient powers watched with interest. The Void Collective, beings who had evolved beyond physical form millions of years ago, sent a message to their leaders. The galaxy has entered a new age. The humans have arrived, and nothing will be the same again. Back on Earth, Colonel Allen Rogers, now retired from active service, watched his children play in the backyard of his home in Colorado. Above them, strange lights moved across the evening sky, ships coming and going from Earth, carrying humans to distant stars and bringing visitors from far-off worlds. Dad, will I be able to visit other planets when I grow up? Asked his young daughter as she pointed to the lights. Alan smiled. You can go anywhere you want, sweetheart. The whole galaxy is open to us now. In orbit around Earth, the newly completed Unity Station served as humanity's gateway to the stars. Admiral Jack Nelson and Captain Susan Wright stood in the observation dome, looking out at the vast fleet of ships. Some human, some alien, all working together. Do you think they'll ever try again? Susan asked. Try to conquer us, I mean. Jack looked at the stars that were no longer unreachable. Someone might. The galaxy is a big place with many dangers we haven't met yet. He turned to face the ships, gathering for a mission to explore beyond known space. But next time we'll be ready and we won't be alone. The human war had changed more than just Earth. It had shaken the very foundations of a galactic order that had existed for thousands of years. Species that had accepted their place now looked to humans as an example of what was possible. And it was only the beginning.